Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there, this is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
Well, hello, and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franzi, and this is your backstage pass to the music industry. This week, we get to talk with a singer, a songwriter, and a recording artist. We get to talk with Josie Sal. We'll talk to her about the dare that started it all, what it was like playing with Jelly Roll, and we'll discuss her new single, Country Gold. Now, Josie, she is not just a vocal powerhouse, she is an amazing person, and I can't wait to talk with her tonight. So if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. Now, let's get started. Can you tell us about the dare that started it all?
Yeah, so I started about 2.5 years ago. It's coming right around 3 years now. In December, it'll be 3 years, which is crazy. I feel like these have been the longest 3 years of my life. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, like you're 15 now? I'm like, nope, still 12. It's been, I feel like years.
Are you telling me that this time has not flown by?
Well, it's flying and also the slowest thing at the same time. It's like my days just fly by. I'm like, did I miss a birthday? Like, am I actually 13 and I don't know it? But yeah, it's been about 2.5 years since my dad dared me. We were like getting out of COVID, and we had spent most of our time in Florida because we were off school, and we were like, what do we do in Pittsburgh? Like Pittsburgh, it's like all great, but then it's like, yeah, no. It's a great place, but if you live here, you're like, I gotta get out. So we spent most of our time in Florida, and then my parents, we've always wanted a house in Florida. So my parents, they got a house, and we were so excited. We were like, this is going to be the best time we've ever had. So our first trip, we brought the whole family. We had just gotten a dog too. So it was just like the best Christmas ever.
Whoa. You can't just gloss by it. What kind of dog?
Okay, she's a labradoodle, and she's like 40 pounds, and she's 3. My brother took her to college, and I'm very sad because I'm like, why did you steal my dog?
How can you just take a dog to college?
I know. It's like we all say it's art. It's like I say it's my dog. My sister says it's her dog. So, but no, apparently it's my brother's dog now. But no, it was so much fun.
All I'm picturing is a dorm room with a dog in it. It just doesn't seem like that's
I know. And it's like him and his girlfriend, they go back and forth. I'm like, whoa, what happened to me? It's like, send her back.
All right.
Yeah, no, she's the perfect little puppy. Her name's Cartier. She's like,
of course.
She's such a little munchkin. So it was like the best Christmas. We were having the best time, and we went out to eat just with my uncle, who used to live here, but he moved. So we kind of followed him over there, and we were out to eat, and there was this band playing, and we didn't actually know I could sing. It wasn't, my parents weren't like, oh my gosh, Josie needs to go to all these places. We need to get her vocal lessons. It was just like, oh, cool. Like, it's Josie. Like, I was always dancing, singing, screaming. Who knows? I'm like the 4th child, so I'm always trying to get up in like any little spotlight I can. I kind of sang. I call it kind of like a party trick, because anytime we'd go to my parents' friend's house, I would do karaoke with them, and they would be like, she kind of can sing. So my dad, he was like, I wanted shopping money because,
Of course.
And and he was like, no, just sit with the family. Like, come on. It's like our first time here. So I was like, fine. And he was like, but I'll give you $20 if you sing with the band. And I was like, hey, $20 is $20. I'll sing. And I wasn't like, this is going to make me a star or anything. I had no plans of doing this the rest of my life.
Were you nervous?
I've been a dancer since I was 2. So it doesn't really scare me to be on stage unless I'm in front of my peers. And then it's all downhill from there. Nope.
We discussed this on the show once before. Are you more nervous when you're performing in front of strangers or in front of family and friends?
Honestly, that's a hard one. So my family and friends, my family, like, I think it's funny. My parents raised me and my brothers and sisters with very tough skin. Like, the jokes in this family is like, people look at my dad and he's like, oh my gosh, you can't say that. And we're like, no, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Like, the Josie Awards just happened, and unfortunately I didn't win, but it's okay. I still have many years to go back. And so the whole time he was like, oh, Josie, you're a double L. Do you know what that stands for? And I was like, what? And I just randomly, I was like, what, lucky loser? And he was like, yeah. He's like, so if you see that written on your door tomorrow morning, I was like, you did not. And his friend was sitting here and he was like, John, you can't say that to your daughter. And I was like laughing and I was like, that's hilarious. And so in front of my family doesn't really bother me because I know we are both thinking the same thing. If I screw up, I look at my sister, I look at my brother, and I'm like, that was awful. And everyone knows. I've had people come up to me and they're like, do you see the faces like your family makes if you like do something wrong or if you forget a word? I was like, yeah, it's just a part. It's just, it's just
It's all part of it.
It's all a part of it. It's the like my mom fully flinches when I screw up. She's like, I'm like, okay, make it a little more obvious.
A little less obvious.
So I would have to say kids my age that I don't know.
Yeah, I always said that I would be more nervous performing in front of somebody I know than in front of a room full of strangers.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like adult strangers don't really bother me. My family and friends don't really bother me because we all know the jokes are gonna come anyways. Whether or not I'm good or horrible, there's gotta be the same jokes.
Somebody's got to keep you in check.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My family definitely does. But yeah, probably kids my age that I don't know.
All right. So your dad gives you $20 to get up on stage. What happens next?
Yeah, so originally the band says no, and I was like, dang it. I was really hoping you'd say yes. And so we sat down, we ate dinner, we watched the band. They were an amazing band. They're called Southbound. They're in Punta Gorda. And we ate dinner, and my dad was like, let me just ask again. And I was mortified. My mom was mortified. My sister was like, she used to be very shy. Now she's come out of her shell, but she was like hiding under the table. She's like, there's no way Josie's about to sing when she never sings at all, and Dad's about to ask a second time. So she was just right off the bat, she was like, this is not for me. I was like, okay. I was like, hey, I'm still in for the money. And they said yes. They were almost done tearing down. So I was like, they're not going to say yes. And they said yes. They were like, what song do you want to sing? I had only knew one song. It was Dance Monkey by Tones and I. And I was over here like looking at the lyrics. I was like, okay, if I'm going to sound really bad, I have to know the lyrics, right? And so I got up and people started coming out from the inside. People came back out on the dance floor and I was like, are you just putting like on an act because I'm like 10 or like, am I actually? And then I stepped out to like hear myself because I couldn't hear. And I heard it and I was like, is that coming from me? I was like, I can't sing. What is going on here? And then at the end, you see the person who had originally told my dad no high five my dad and say, you didn't tell me she was going to do that. I didn't know I was going to do that. My parents definitely didn't know I was going to do that. But ever since I caught the bug, and then whenever I went to Nashville, I was still in school. School was like my favorite part. I love school so much, which is, everyone thinks I'm so weird, but I'm like, school is my favorite. And I came home, I was crying, and it was the last day of school, and my brother was like, why are you crying? He was like, I hope those are happy tears. And I was like, I don't want to leave. And he was like, you're not normal at all. But so I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave school. And I went to Nashville, and I was like, Mom, I'm ready. I was like, I got to come down here ASAP. And, ever since, it's just been
all right. So I've got so many questions.
It's a crazy story. It's crazy.
All right. So your dad $20, get you up on stage, you sing, obviously you love it. They were very impressed, the band, the audience, your family, everybody's happy. How do you go from that to this amazing connection of people that you have? How do you develop that kind of network?
I mean, it's crazy. My networking is probably still right now, it's my parents. Like, I get emails all the time, and I'm like, how did this person find my email? And I just read one yesterday. I was at the gym with my friend, and it's like, oh, I just got an email, and I look, and it's like, hi, I met your dad on a plane, and he played me your music the whole way. And I'm like, I am so sorry. But a lot of the networking was like my parents. After that, they were like on it immediately. They were like, we need to put Josie into some sort of lessons we need to do. So even though we had no knowledge about music or the industry at all, like, I was a dancer, I had plans on being a dancer. And so it was kind of crazy how it happened. But like, now that I think about it more, I didn't think about this in the beginning because I was like, still like, what's going on with my life right now? But now that I think of it, it was like, I mean, I know everything was meant to be, but it was so meant to be because my parents, we obviously knew nothing about the industry, but somehow it just all fell into place and they just took the right route. And so that's pretty much how most of the networking is. I probably have to give it to I have to probably give it all to my parents because my dad would just go up to random people still to this day. He'll see a group of family and he's like, do you guys like country music? And I'm like, let them eat. Like, please let them sit and have family time.
I love how you say it just all comes together. I mean, I worked in Nashville for 20 plus years. I worked in the music industry for 35 years. And it takes forever for an artist to break. It takes forever for anybody in the music industry to create a career. And here it is, you're so very young, and you've done it in just a year or two. And it's very, very impressive. I mean, you've played some of the most iconic venues there are. You've played Tootsie's, you've played Rippies, you've played Dierks Bentley's place, Bon Jovi's place. I mean, you've played all of these venues. You've had an opportunity to work with such amazing artists or get up on stage and sing with some of the best. But that's super impressive. Are you aware of just how impressive that is?
It's crazy. It still blows my mind. I still am barely processing any of it. Like, my friend the other day texted me. It's always my friends too. They're always like, do you actually know what's happening to you? I'm like, nope.
That's what I'm
I have
saying.
no
It's
idea.
incredible.
I have no idea what is going on. I had my first show at Rippies and I was like, okay, it's not Tootsie's, but this is crazy.
I just want to
I was
say, yeah,
like,
your first show. Well, my first show was at Rippies. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I was like, my mind is being blown right now. No, it's crazy, everything that has been going on. But I have a song, I wrote it. It's called God's Driving This Train. And I feel like it explains everything because it's like, we came straight out of COVID, no idea I could sing at all. And then all of a sudden, all this started happening. It's only been 2.5 years and I've already released my third song. I'm like, this is crazy. It's going so fast, but so slow at the same time. And it's just, I'm not processing it all.
I have 3 daughters. I have a 14, a 10, and a 2. They're all dancers like yourself, and they take it extremely serious. My 10-year-old, she was on the show once before because she auditioned and got into the Cincinnati Ballet and was part of the Nutcracker. So, I mean, they take it very, very serious, but I don't know that any of them can sing. Yeah. And I would love it if they just came to you one day, oh, by the way, I can sing. Let's go ahead and get a career going.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
But you say, my very first gig was at Rippies, okay? But it's not Tootsie's, but yet you played Tootsie's as well. And Tootsie's probably the most iconic venue down on Broadway. And it's specifically known because Hank Williams used to go between the Opry and Tootsie's through the back alley, go there to drink in between shows, and then go back and play his next show. Did any of that stuff go through your mind? Were you aware of just how iconic of a venue that was?
Yeah, my first time to Nashville, we were waiting in lines. All of the lines are craziness. My first time there was Halloween weekend too, so it was even crazier. And I mean, from the start, as soon as I landed, I was like, this feels like home. This feels right. I was like, what's Pittsburgh? No, I was like, this is my
Pittsburgh,
place.
don't pay attention right now.
I was like, Pittsburgh. I don't know. No, but as soon as I got to Nashville, I fell in love, and we were standing in line, and I was just kind of looking around. I was still not really in line because I was just everywhere, and I just kind of looked over, and I see Willie Nelson in the front, and I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Yeah, now do you
that
kind of
really
get
made
where
me
you were?
realize- I was like, oh, okay. So that's, yeah, okay. I was like, so it's all adding up now. Because I was like, the famous Tootsies, I always knew about that. But until I actually got there and like looked at the front of it, I was like, oh my gosh. And that's when I got a little scared for my first time because I was like, I have no idea who's here.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. What was going through your mind right before you get on stage?
Well, I mean, always first thing that goes through my mind is lyrics. I'm like, don't screw this up. But I love performing. It's like my favorite thing to do. And so the first thing that was running through my mind, it was like, this is Nashville and this crowd is gonna be so much fun. And they all are country music lovers. But once I got up there and I started having fun, it felt so natural. It felt so right. So I wasn't really nervous, but I was definitely looking around because I was like, if Lainey Wilson walks through this back door or something and I see someone, I'm jumping off stage and I'm going to sing with them. I was like, I'm gone, guys. But yeah, it was crazy. It was so much fun. There was so much running through my mind that I don't even know what was going on.
It'd be funny if she walked in and got up and sang with you.
Oh, that would be crazy. If that ever happens, like my dad, he's always like, someone could walk through this door. And
Absolutely.
I'm like, don't tell me that.
Absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the videos of people on stage and they're singing a cover and the person who sings the song comes in from behind or gets up on stage, and any of those type of things happen all the time there.
Yeah, we were just there and I just kind of looked on my Instagram and I see it's live and I'm like, that person is so familiar. I zoom in and it's Kid Rock on stage and I was like, guys, I'm going to Broadway. I'll see you later. I was like, I gotta go catch Kid Rock.
Of course, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's crazy. The amount of celebrities that just walk on the street is like, how are you just normally just walking so casual? Like, they're not famous at all. And I love how respectful the people on Broadway are. They don't act like, oh my gosh. I think it helps that, especially without security. I mean, like a while ago, I would have thought, oh, they have to have security all times. But in Nashville, the people are so respectful. They just let them walk and just hang out.
Right.
I saw Winona Judd just walking on the street. And me, it was my first time in Nashville. I was like, that's not normal. Where are the bodyguards? I was like, so you're just walking on Broadway. That's totally not normal. She just walked in and ate.
Yeah.
I was like, is that a lookalike? Or
No. My friend was playing a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month at this point, but he was playing in Nashville. He's playing at Losers, and Post Malone walked in and got up on stage and sang with him and hung out with him all night long. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to get together and do some songs together and stuff. I mean, it is that type of town. I mean, once you make a connection, it doesn't matter if you're famous or if you're not. If you click with somebody, they want to be your friend.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great thing.
You never know who you're going to meet down there. And I feel like Nashville makes people realize that stars are normal people and that they just live a normal life. They go home to their family every night and, it's just normal. And it's kind of crazy because at first I was looking and like Riley Green and people were like, oh yeah, like he left his meet and greet. And I was like, well, I mean, he does do normal people things. Like if he was tired, he was tired. I was like, he doesn't just have 24-hour just staying awake. And I was like, I bet you he didn't sleep last night either. So if he's tired, let him go. But yeah, I think Nashville definitely makes people realize that everyone's just a normal person.
Well, as we talk about these normal people, can you tell me what it was like getting up on stage and playing with the normal, Jelly Roll?
Yeah, it was very not normal, actually. So it all happened off of a sign. There was nothing set up before. He just happened to read my sign. And I went backstage. The first thing
Well, before we
that
do
happened,
that, tell us what the sign said.
the sign said, Lainey's on her way to Alabama. Can I sing Save Me With You? So, and then there was a picture of me and Jelly Roll, and it said, Josie Hearts Jelly. It was really cool how it happened because my dad he never has the TV on in the morning, and he just randomly had the TV on at like 6
How
a.m.
much money did your dad give you for that?
Hey, I'll be down for this one with no money. I was like, no money needed. And I was like, I'll pay you. I was like, whatever works. But yeah, the randomly, and he had like the news on or something, and someone was interviewing Jelly Roll, and they were like, we know you don't need plugged, but where are you next? And he said, Star Lake. And my dad was like, oh my gosh. And my dad, he had just found out who Jelly Roll was because he was just starting. And because Lainey, I'm a Lainey super fan. It's kind of, at first it was a little creepy, and now I'm a normal again. But, but he was like, he came into my room, and my first response was, what are you doing? I'm sleeping. I ain't getting up right now. But he was like, do you want to sing with Jelly tomorrow? And I was like, how do you have that power to do that? What are you talking about? And he walked back into his room, and he told my mom, he was like, Josie's gonna sing with Jelly tomorrow. And
Your
that
dad's making
right
me
off
look
the bat-
bad right now. I'm just telling you that.
Dad right off the bat, I don't know, he has some superpowers that I have no idea what goes on in his mind, but his mind just works differently. Every time it's like he goes to do something, and I'm like, that I would never do that. But
Yeah, if my kids
you
are
do you.
listening, it's time for you to go to bed.
Yeah. So he just, like he went and he got the tickets the day before the show. So obviously we weren't in the pit or anything. We were in like section 1, and it was off to the side. And I was like looking up, I was like, Dad, there's no way she's going to see my sign. Like, he can't probably see this far, also the lights. And he was like, yeah, you're right. So he just walks out into the pit, and I'm like, whoa, bud, you don't have a ticket. I was like, and he said to security, she was like, wait, you need a wristband. And he said, my daughter has a sign. Is it okay if she just stands here and then we can go back to our seats? And she said, yeah. And I was like, something's not. The math isn't adding up here. And she said, yeah. And so I was kind of timid because I didn't want to like make anyone behind me mad. And she was like, here, stand on my chair. So already I'm like, you let us into the pit. We don't have a ticket. Now you're letting me stand on your chair. That's crazy. So I stood on her chair, and she was like, Jelly's coming, like, put your sign up. So I put my sign up. He came over, he read it, and he was like, yeah, I got you. And so everyone in the pit like turned around because they were like, who's he talking to? And so everyone in the pit started chanting Josie, and everyone thought they were chanting Jelly. So it was like, Jelly, Josie. And I was like, okay. And security came around, and they said, Jelly wants you backstage. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll be there. So I was like, that's crazy. So I started walking around, and they were like, no, we're not ready for you yet. And so I ran all the way back around. I already made it backstage, and they were like, no, he's not ready either yet. I was like, ah. And so I ran back, and I went back to my parents, and then they were like, okay, he's ready for you. So they took me, and they left my parents. So my parents were like, well, obviously my mom knew where I was going, but she was like, wait, did we just let Josie go security? And then I was like, yeah, no, my dad now all the time, he's telling the story. He's like, there's no explanation for this. So they took me, and they were like, how old are you? And I was 11 at the time. And I was
42?
like, I was like, I'm 11. And they were like, oh yeah, you need your parents. So I walked all the way back around. I was like, I really got
You're
my
gonna
steps.
be out of breath before you sing.
I was like, if I'm singing, I'm going to be like. So I got my parents. We went backstage, and everything from backstage is kind of a blur. But I just remember my dad looking at me. He's like, warm up. And I'm like, you think that's the first thing going through my mind? I was like, look, And he looks out and everyone is holding their flashlight in the air and there's 26,000+ people. And I'm over here like, this is about to be the coolest thing ever. And him and my mom are shaking. They're like, oh no, what is going to happen?
Were you nervous?
I was not.
No.
26,000 people is so much easier to sing in front of than 3 people, I think. You don't have to look everyone in the eyes.
I can actually understand that. I gotcha.
Yeah. So, and then I see a person coming from like backstage and they're holding a mic and I'm like, ooh, this is real. I'm like, yikes. I'm like, so maybe I should actually start preparing now. And I got the mic and they're like, this is Jelly's last song. And I was like, he's sharing the encore with me? Okay. So I grabbed the mic and I was like, when do I go on? Like, what do I do? I was so nervous at that point because I didn't know what was like going to go on. I didn't know how I was going to walk up. I wasn't nervous about singing. I was just nervous about how everything was going to play out. So they were like, Jelly will just wave you on. I was like, okay. And so mid-chorus, I'm like about to start singing and he's like, come on. And I walked on and first thing was like, I can't hear anything. Nothing. Couldn't hear myself. Could barely hear the music. And there was also fire, like the flames going off behind me. I was like, I'm going to catch on fire. Can't hear myself. This is going to sound really bad. And I'm on stage with Jelly Roll. So this is great. And it was so cool. Couldn't hear myself. If you watch the video, I promise you I've gotten better. Nice. It was really bad. It was really bad. I saw it the next morning because I think we got home at like 2 o'clock in the morning with Pittsburgh traffic and everything. And it was like Jelly had to postpone his concert like a little bit. He had to push it back because the line, no one could get in at all. So we were driving back home and it took probably like an hour and a half to get home. So I got home, I went straight to bed and my mom wakes me up at 5:45. I'm like, girl, I just fell asleep. What are you doing here? And she was like, a radio station just called and said, are you Josie's mom? And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I look at the video and it had went viral and I was like, ooh, that's not me. I was like, I don't claim her. So
what was it about the performance that you weren't happy with?
Okay, the first thing, I mean, what I heard from on stage, the first thing that I kind of said, it was like, I sound really baby right now because I couldn't hear myself. So I was singing really slow. The tempo, if you watch the video, you see Jelly Roll pop out his in-ears and start to pace me. Which
was a very cool thing to do.
Yeah, I was like, thank the Lord for you because this would have been really worse. And I was so thankful that he did that because now that I look at it, I was like, I needed that or else that song would have never been over. It was pretty much just the way I sounded was the only thing. Stage presence wasn't really there because I was like stuck. I thought I was paralyzed on stage because it's like, what if I go further? And so it was kind of crazy. But pretty much just the way I sounded was the worst part.
Well, if that's your worst performance, by God, you've got a career. I mean, absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, you got to understand, too, that's not only his finale. It's his finale because it's by far his most popular song. I mean, it's a killer song. And the song itself is heart-wrenching.
Yeah, it's a deep song.
When you're up there, do you make that connection to the song?
So, I mean, in that instance, I was like, somebody save me because I'm scared.
There you go.
But I mean, the thing about me is I'm a lyric person. So if I'm going to sing a song, I know every single lyric. I know why the person wrote it and I know what it means to me, which I've always kind of been that way. I've always been somewhat of a writer since I was a kid. I'm still only 12. But since I was younger.
Since I was yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. Since I was younger, I've always been a writer. I've always written like my thoughts down. So I've always thought about lyrics and I always know the story behind the song. So although I couldn't relate to it and I wasn't really sure what it meant to me, I know how he felt. and I know what the lyrics meant to a lot of people. So that's pretty much how I kind of felt through that song. Just like Wait in the Truck, I sing that song too, and I definitely can't relate to that one. So it's, if I can't relate to it, I know what it means to them, and I just try to put myself in their shoes.
I mean, it's a great song. I mean, the first time I heard the song, I was like, whoa, that's deep. There's a lot of feeling in there.
Yeah, yeah. One of the comments on the post that went viral was like, "We're so sorry, we'll pay for your therapy." And I was like, whoa, I didn't write for this. I didn't write this song. I was like, I don't need therapy. I'm good. I was like, actually, I'm living my best life now. But yeah, it's definitely a deep song. And I don't sing it as often as I used to now, mainly because I'm singing a lot of my own music. But
Well, you sang the song in Nashville too, right?
yes, I did. I sang it with Buck Wild this past weekend. Yeah. But I feel like there's a time and place for that song. So, I mean, in Nashville, you can sing it because it's Nashville, first of all. But I feel like there's a time and place for that song. So if I'm going to a family venue, I probably won't sing it because... But yeah, I like some fun music, but I like to slow it down. So that's why I love that song.
You also sing, a good amount of covers, but you sing some of my favorites. I mean, some of my favorite bands growing up were, Journey was my favorite band. Van Halen was up there in the top 5 for sure. You sing both of those. Are there any bands like Journey or Van Halen or any of the others that just challenge you?
So I started singing Van Halen. My first song, well, like my second song I've ever learned was Journey. And then after that, I was singing Dance the Night Away in Panama and Twisted Sister. Yeah, crazy way to start. Don't know how I got to come.
Love it.
But I mean, I love older music and I also love rock, which is really funny. The other day I told my mom, I was like, we were in Lucky Bastards on Broadway. I don't remember what song was playing, but they were getting a lot of rock requests, like hard rock, like heavy metal type rock requests. And my mom, and like I was having the time of my life listening to this music. And I was like, Mom, I think I like this even like as much as country, like maybe even a little more. And she looked at me like, what did you say? I was like, no, I love this music. And she's like, yeah, that's probably why you're so like country rock. I love incorporating rock into my music. But yeah, I mean, starting off with Journey and Van Halen definitely taught me some things about voice. Yeah, Journey, Van Halen.
What's the biggest challenge?
My most challenging song is probably my song, honestly, because when we were writing Country Gold, it's my newest release, that's probably my most challenging song.
Very powerful.
I love to challenge myself on my music. I love to make it the best it can be. And when we were in the writing studio, I wrote with Noah Henson, which is also my producer and my guitar player. He's the best. I love him. And getting in the studio with him and Noah West, which is also who I wrote this song with, and then Presley Tennant, she also joined in at like the end of the song.
How's the connection to Presley?
So I found Presley through Noah West, which he also wrote, but I love her. I love her music. And at first, I mean, I had never written with a girl writer until her, and then now I've been writing with girls, but I loved it. And getting in a room with them was so easy because Noah Henson, I don't know, it just felt like he's so sweet, he's so cool. And it just felt right, like he was so sweet. It's hard to describe because it just felt right. And then Noah West reminded me a lot of my brother, so it was really easy to write with him. Even as soon as I met him, he was like, no, I want to give you a brother talk. And I was like, all right, give it to me. I was like, okay. Presley also reminded me a lot of my sister, which is crazy. And she's just super cool, and it was fun.
She's a powerhouse vocalist for sure as well.
Yeah, when we were writing Country Gold, it was Presley singing. It was also, we finished the song at like 1:30 a.m., so it was a long day. And so Presley was singing, and I was like, thank the Lord for you, because I could not do a work tape right now. I was like falling asleep on the couch when we were like done writing it, and I was like, guys, we need to go. I was like, I'm falling asleep here. But she hit a note that we really, really wanted in the song, and they all looked at me and they were like,
thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
I was
that.
like, great, that's great. I love that for me. I was like, so whenever I have to play this live, I'm gonna call you and be like, can you do this? And they both looked at me, Noah and Noah. They both looked at me and they were like, can you hit that note? And I was like, I can try. And I hit it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, if I can hit it, I'll put it in the song. And I hit it, and ever since, been terrified. But we finally got it. We've gotten better. We're slowly, my vocal coach was like, second song you write, and this is what happens. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, but please help. And we did it, and we got through it, and now it's definitely easier to sing. But now that note is like, somehow I get it in every song. And I'm like, why do I do this to myself? But yeah, my music is probably the most challenging music.
So you do this work tape. What comes after the work tape? Are you then going straight to the studio, or what's next?
So it's a process, and it's also a long process because Noah Henson is on tour with Brantley Gilbert and Pillar. So when I first met him, he was just about to go on tour with Pillar. So he hadn't been on the road with Pillar yet, but he was like, soon I'm going to be on 2 tours at once, so we got to get this rolling. So we start with a work tape, and we write into the work tape in the same night. We just kind of knock it out there. And then after that, I like to sit with the song personally. I just love, listening to it, getting to like feel the song more, which is, it's kind of confusing because like, yeah, I wrote the song, but also I want to make me and the song one. So I like to sit with it for a while. I sat with it for a month because Noah was like on the road. So we got back, we sat in the studio. He likes to get a good track down before we do anything else. So he does everything by himself. And then later, once vocals are done, then he'll bring in people for instruments. So it's a big process. So then after work tape, he does what he likes to do. He kind of just does a little drums and a little just mix. And then I throw vocals on it. And sometimes I do background vocals, sometimes I don't. And I did vocals, and then he brings the instruments in. He gives us like a little mix. And once we like the mix, then he masters it. And it's a long process, but it's so much fun. And in the end, I don't know how he does it every time. I'm like, how do you make them each better? Like, this is crazy. But yeah, my first time in the studio with him, me and my parents were like, our jaws were on the floor and probably lower because we were just shocked. He was just playing guitar so naturally, like it was practice. And I was like, yeah, he just learned this, guys.
Yep.
I
always say that Nashville has the most impressive musicians in the world. I mean, it's the best musicians in the world, best engineers in the world, best producers. I mean, it's truly a team of fascinating and amazing people. The very first time you heard the song, the finished product, well, how impressed were you?
There was just something about it whenever I got the tape back, and I was like, this is different. It was like, it gave me a feeling that it was like, people might actually really, really like this one. On my way, I mean, I loved that one, and I knew people could relate, whether you're any age, you can relate. And so I really liked that, but there was just a different feeling between Country Gold and On My Way. I was like,
all the power to you. It doesn't sound like a 12-year-old singing a song. I mean, it sounds killer. It sounds like any song you'd hear on the radio. And your voice is deep. It's rich. It's got this, power to it. But I'm sure you're starting to get feedback. What's the feedback been like?
I am so thankful. People ate the song up when I started singing at my shows a while before I released it, but at my shows, immediate feedback was starting to happen, and it was all really good, which is another reason why I right off the bat was like, this is going to be a good song. But the feedback has been so nice, so kind. Everyone has loved it, which is really cool. I wrote this song about how, like, the music that filled my house and my grandpa's house, mainly my grandpa's house, he's the one who loved country music. He passed away probably 5 years ago, but he loved country music. Breakfast, country music was playing. He hardly watched TV. It was country music. So it's about the music that filled me and my grandpa's house and what I was raised on, because I know not a lot of kids my age can relate, but I know a lot of people can relate, and I think it's really cool because that's how I was raised. And I think even if you weren't raised like that, I think you can kind of still vibe to it, and I think it's a fun song. I like writing my music how you can dance to it, but you can also just sit in the car and listen to it. So this one just, I don't know, it hit different, and I loved it.
All right. We do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who works behind the scenes or somebody who may have supported you along the way. Although I might know the answer to this question, is there anybody that you would like to shine a little light on?
No, I mean, other than my parents, Ryan McMahon, Brad Balsama, Noah Henson, Noah West, Presley, Kelly Johnson, she's another writer that she emailed me after my show. She'd just seen me, and we've written some fun songs. Who else? Let's think. Hey, we got to thank the people from Florida. Mike Riley, he's a part of the Boogeymen. He was my first real band that I played with. I look up to him like a mentor. He's the sweetest person ever. And it's so funny because I always get these texts, and at first my dad's always the one who asks, and my mom's the one who just, sits there and videos and all that stuff. And my dad wasn't there. And so I was like, Mom, I really want to sing with this band. And she's like, all right, I'll try to ask. And it took her an hour and a half of convincing to let me sing. And I got up, and ever since then, I've sang with the band. I've gone on stage, and now I go to his house, we sing songs. He just sits there and plays guitar. But yeah, he's so sweet. And then probably Brian Turner. He's the one who gave me the opportunity to open for Riley Green. And then my uncle and my aunt, because we wouldn't have gotten a house in Florida if it weren't for them. So, he loves to claim it. So we got a shout out to Uncle Tom. And then also my sound guy, Dennis, Dennis Dees, it's Dees Audio. And, I don't know how he does it. I don't know what he does. It's just the amount of knowledge he has on all of this stuff blows my mind. And then whenever I come here and I'm with a really, really good sound guy, I'm like, Dennis, I don't know what to do. I'm so used to you being here. I don't know. But yeah, those are probably all of the people. But there's so many more people behind the scenes. But those are the people that have really, really stood out and, helped so much.
A big thanks to Josie for taking the time to share her stories with us. And thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. As always, I really do appreciate it. If you know anyone that would enjoy this episode, please be sure to share it. You can do that and find the links to everything mentioned over at jfranzy.com/episode 100. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzy Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzy.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.